Dumelang Sanbonani and greetings. Welcome to our True Crime South Africa podcast. This is True Crime with Stoned Q, where we usually report mostly on under the radar, unreported, underreported, underrepresented cases in South Africa, usually covering the marginalized groups. However, we also do give coverage to the more well-known cases, as we will be doing so today. Let us remember that these are real cases or stories with real people, real lives, real families, real friends. So let us be very kind to not victim blame, not victim shame. Let's be kind. Let's be respectful. Let's keep it love and light, But thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 23, but episode 5 of our season 2. So thank you to those who have subscribed, those who have just got here, or those who have not subscribed as yet. Please let us start by subscribing. And yes, let's interact in the comment section if you like how I tell the stories or if you have any case suggestions. I saw with one of the cases we did in the past, somebody had a dispute on the Chris Cadalfo's case. So please do come back. Please give us your rendition of events, especially if you live in the area. I think people would have better experience and a better way to tell such stories. But we are bringing it to a very recent case. It is hot on the fires. It is ongoing. But I think I was, strangely, intensely moved by this case, And I just thought, maybe let's follow this case blow by blow, see where this case is going. But let us get into today's case. Today's case is the story of the two cousins from Mamelodi, which is on the east side of Pretoria, going towards Mpumalanga, Boma Bronkhortspruit side. So, this is the case of 22-year-old Tshiamo Moramagga and 21-year-old Baleseng Moramagga. But by virtue of them being Betty, I think it's pronounced Moramagga. But these two cousins were found lying side by side next to a road in Extension 7 in Mamelodi. If you are familiar with Pretoria or familiar with Mamelodi as a township, you would know that this is now like on the outskirts. Nkare oya Mpumalanga. So them being from Groblersdal also makes sense for me because that is the more eastern side, or what I call the Mpumalanga side of Limpopo, all right? And it is closer, that side, Mamelodi, like I'm saying, Hori, you'll go via Boma Bronkhortspruit. But please do correct me if I am incorrect. But by my understanding or my experience of Mamelodi, Haribwaka Boma Extension 7, that's there. I forgot what the area is called, but it's there at the end after Mamelodi East. And we know Hore Mamelodi East, or the new Mamelodi East, is much younger than Mamelodi West, right? So Mamelodi, coming from, let's say, the town side, it starts off, Kiboma East Lane, Nyaberibo, Silverton, Esteres, and then Hokala, the Deneboom side, right, which is the west side, and then east side. I forgot what that part of the township is called, but Boma, informal settlement, new houses, those kind of things. I think Boma, probably after Boma Mahube, because Mahube was a new development, right? So this is my understanding of this whole extension situation. And the last time I was living in Pretoria is probably more than 15 years ago. So so do forgive me for that. But let us go into today's episode. And why I want us to particularly cover this episode right now while it's still fresh, besides wanting to follow it blow by blow, is the narrative that we see on the social media streets where now, my generation of people, like, we're problematic, we're very problematic. We are the perpetuators of patriarchy. We're the upholders of patriarchy and colonialism, honestly, because, we'll cover those things that are said in the social media streets. But let us start how we usually start our episodes. Let's give light to who these victims are, as well as the surviving victim. Anyway, Tshiamo and Baleseng were more than cousins. And I think cousins are like your first best friends, especially for some of us who don't have siblings or don't have siblings until like you're a teenager or something like that. But the cousins were more like siblings to you. So these two girls were raised almost like sisters who were born just a year apart. So they were born in Groblersdal, which is in the Mpumalanga side of Limpopo, but it is under the Limpopo region. Via town planning, via regional, via the language that is spoken there. But it's, that side of Limpopo. It's the Mpumalanga side of Limpopo where they speak Sepedi. So they relocated to Mamelodi. I'm guessing their parents were looking for greener pastures. So Mamelodi is in the Gauteng province. And these two girls, they attended crèche together. And, as family members would say that they would wear matching clothes. So I had this with my closest cousins, as much as we're very different. But Kamboma, what are those colonial times? For Christmas, so we'd be dressed the same kind of thing, right? And then the one that I grew up with, I was the middle of my cousins. Ne? So I had... When my boy cousin was still around, I had matchy situations with him. And then when he left and it was just the two of us with my other cousin, we would be paired matchy, even though we are a year apart, but we're different. But anyway, you get the gist, right? You get the closeness of cousinship and all of that. But anyway, Tshiamo, at 22, she had dreams of being in the beauty industry. She was studying hair and nails and just building a future where she could run her own salon. And then Baleseng, she was 21. So like these are children, these were really, really children. And she was still a student, go UNISA, doing her third year in education. And her family said she had a passion for children and dreamed of becoming a teacher to make a difference in her community. And, I think the mother was very strong in telling the story, also having to bite her tongue, I was Zulu more. But we can see that these women, it's focused, they're investing in their own lives, they're studying, they're working, building their futures. So what we will not be doing is shaming them for doing things that people their age do. I think we all went out, or most of us, we all went out. Okay, I'm not saying alinke for not going out, but hear me out. But these are things that children do. These are things that young adults do. We go out. We've been to Groove. We've been... Ibile, I think in my days, like the Holy West, we had the street bash, We had the street bash. Okay, now I got them, got their final days of what the street bash. But I'd say maybe some, like my older sister, and by older sister, not necessarily biological. Like I said, Horea, I was an only child for the longest. So they went to the street bash. There's this hot party I've always wanted to go to, but when I could go, not calabash. I forgot what they called, but there were these hot parties that I wanted to go to, but are still too young. But anyway, these two girls were, like I'm saying, like young adults. They go out when they want to go out. They take care of themselves. And they shared a room called Mamelodi. So also speaking to adulting, because we know the social ills that rona, most people, you still go hamama, at a very, very ripe age. But these girls are showing independence. They're showing that, we are grown folk, especially my gents. So I don't know if that is designed by the system, but I'll speak from a context of maybe a township that I'm more familiar with, the township, Soweto, all right, where, actually not even, I'd say Soweto le Mamelodi. Let me speak of those two townships. But in Mamelodi, you get something called the boys' room, or the back, in Johannesburg, you guys would call them the back room, but the boys' room, go Pretoria, meaning that the boy child will get to have an outside room, abambe, I thought like all these things, some people even raise their families, tola the big screen, tola the ing, like Motu does not want to leave mama's house because khonali back room kind of situation. And I'm not shaming anybody. I know houses are expensive and most of us cannot afford to buy houses, like our parents did. But hear me out. Anyway, let's speak about Mamelodi as a township, no? And I'll just add my spice as somebody who has some sort of understanding of Mamelodi as a township. But it's a township with a proud history, strong family ties. I've had amazing times go Mamelodi, vibrant youth culture, crazy youth culture as well. I think a lot of cultural things that I formed or cultural understanding of things of township life that I formed is from the basis of Mamelodi, as much as I didn't live there, but it would be something very accessible to me, I lived like 3 towns outside of Mamelodi. But also on the other side, right, it's communities fighting ongoing battles, ke unemployment, ke makutumela, bomphandis, these thugs who are torturing the community, Boko Haram, like chaos in J, GBV. One I think I spoke of in an episode I've done, like the whole taxi driver dating movement, thug dating movement, what they would call like Howa's life. I remember I was still very young, I think I was born at 16, seeing like all this culture playing right in front of my eyes, so thank goodness, like Kilekwala, these were never things that I wanted to engage in, and I just wanted to party because yes, they had their base parties and whatnot, but thank goodness for my strict parents, because if I wanted to go to a party, for example, I'd have to announce like 2 weeks in advance kind of situation, and get Mamelodi guy, because my dad, he's a Mamelodian, so he understood the dynamics of Mamelodi, besides being an adult, but he understood hori go Mamelodi go jwang, So when I was there in Mamelodi, this was now the era yabo Chris Catalfos, I remember I got slapped at school by one of these well-known thugs, not leader to a sports event, so for sure he decided to slap me. And when my dad came through taking it Mamelodi clever to Mamelodi clever, this guy runs away. Actually, yeah, I think I'm still mad at that girl, the one she was dating. Yeah, I don't know whatever happened after that, but I remember it was a culture shock for me. But anyway, you're not in this township, besides the social ills, the illness rates, like there's people who are my grade 8s when I was a prefect who passed away from sexually transmitted diseases, people who I saw growing into this very same culture, Mamelodi, ne? So I hope my 1K kile acknowledge it by wanting to victim blame people. So the point I was making earlier on is that we all partied, we all did things that the youth does, and I think they're adult enough, banaling 21, 22, as much as ilebana, but they are now legally allowed to attend any club, ne? Yeah, because I remember I used to want to check the club ages, and Rona rented into early, but here we are, and here are my generation of people still judging other people, But anyway, after the lamentation, I want us also to get on another fellow who is an attempted, who was almost also unalived, There's Desmond Sinong that we're gonna touch in the story as well, who was friends with the 2 girls, but more particularly friends with Baleseng. Then we get to the suspect. Yeah, we're calling him a suspect because the case is still ongoing. But yeah, I have a lot to say on this guy. So after this whole crime took place, and we'll get into the crime, a 38-year-old, Tebogo Mnisi, he got arrested at a petrol station. Ne? So Tebogo Mnisi, let's attend to that. Let's attend to that. Let's attend to all these things that I like speaking about, the whole social ills. But if you want to hear me more speaking of social ills and whatnot, I have another space where we talk these things. I have a feature called Kasi the Concentration Camp, but the podcast is called Stones Queer Podcast. So please go check it out if, also this is a little bit, too much for you. But anyway, so this guy's 38, guys, ne? So 38, this is like my ntangas, ne? And at this age, I don't see myself having friends, first of all, of this age, If get friends, get acquaintances, really, but why? I don't see a lot of 38-year-old men having 21-year-old, 22-year-old friends, but they're dating these kids. Is it like latswafa ho jwala le dithaka tsa lona, or le tshaba dithaka tsa lona? Because obviously here there's power dynamics at play, right? We're expecting her, 38 dealing with a 21-year-old. The assumption would be that you would have more money than a 21-year-old woman, or they would get easily impressed by stupid-ish, Like I'm saying, I grew up in this culture. I remember I had this cousin. Had is correct, and no, she's still alive. But anyway, so cousin Ona, I would observe this whole culture, kasi ena, through her eyes, right? So her liskim sachache, there were 4 of them in the crew, and they went from lifestyle, la kurenka, ka di local taxis, ne, le those boys, and then upgrade to the karakara, ne. I don't want to say the Natal word for it, but the karakara, the taxi drivers are the karakara. But I remember the little things that would be exciting, like, barreketi pizza, because I remember Silverton, there was a Romans pizza situation, there was a Casbah in the area as well. But that whole thing, barreketi pizza, barreketi street twice too, barreketi, even though we didn't drink much back in the day, so I guess 6-pack was such a big deal. Okay, I don't drink anymore as well, but when I used to be a drinker, and that was the thing, when I was in varsity as well, you'd find Jen saying, "Alright, no na kitlo ya ko ndawong eso umurekela streetwise 2 le 6-pack o tswa moyena." So do you understand the power dynamics? And me asking hore, like, latswafa na 40-year-olds who jwala le dithaka tsa lona na, like latswafa or la boreja, like why le jola le bana, But anyway, so Tebogo, it is alleged that Tebogo Mnisi was dating Tshiamo, the 22-year-old, ne, and the cousin, their friend Desmond, was allegedly saying hore, Desmond is reporting hore, barekemang abuti o, Tebogo, not Tebogo. Desmond says that Baleseng would be uncomfortable, or didn't like being around this Tebogo fella. Tebogo was allegedly a bouncer, maybe Kili, but no, that one, we are rubbishing that claim, because the flying story was that he spent 10K on these girls, ne? And listen, I love my conscious community people. I love my sisters and my Nubian queens. I love you guys. But le pusha patriarchy at times, I don't want to say you twerking for your man, I don't want to shame Lonabo, oh, my king, Liring. But it didn't sit well with me seeing it on a Rasta lady status. But I've seen like a current theme nyana ya gage, where we can advocate for men, but without diminishing women, So this lady said something like, moms, okay, it's not verbatim, but moms need to teach their girl children to make their own money, to avoid the 10K, men spending 10K of them. So first of all, that story is not true. Second of all, I think let us get to an understanding, you don't have a right over anybody's life, Whether motu cheated, whether motu enteng, you do not have that right, And how about we teach the boy child, rather do things because you want to, not as an unknown expectation, you know. If ke known expectation, if ke unknown, rather voice it out. Or bona, ke tlo spendela 10K mara ke batla, this is the exchange, ne? And I'm also not diminishing hore, hey, umhlaba unjani. Nobody has a right. And bossista, come on, man. Come on. So anyway, let us get to another night of the event, ne? So this was now the 26th of October. I think it was a Saturday. It should have been a Saturday. First, it 26, then Kidi 25, ne? But Kidi 26 because that's when their bodies were found. But it was just a normal Saturday, and swabona ki date ya 25 akere. Chaos. Maybe I need to look into that on my other channel actually. Hore hona le memoya eating na towards certain paydays. But 2025 there's so much chaos. Oh my gosh. But anyway, so these girls were at a nearby tavern or establishment. I don't even saying establishment, ne? So Mamelodi East, they call this place a small Konka. So if you're familiar with Konka, you know it was one of the high-end club situations that was happening. Kosoweto was featured on one of the toxic but so good shows I like, adulting, ne? But also in where my grandparents' home is, there is a place called Konka as well. But it's the concept behind it kind of thing, right? So not necessarily what it's the high-end kind of Konka. So anyway, apparently Bayana Bana, Tshiamo Baleseng, Bafihlile, all dressed up, you know, planning for a night out. So also, my 1K, my generation, stop it. Hore, what are you doing out at that night? We go out, we go out. I remember I used to go out at 11, kind of thing, you know, once I had my freedom. But obviously in my younger days, I had curfews, but well, when your parents see you're responsible, you know, no, this is I'm going out, and then you come back. Whether melilanga, whether ini, as long as, you know, you're an adult and everything else. So let us rubbish the 10K story at Kalanje. So these girls, by Fihlile, go small Konka, which is in Mamelodi East, not too far from where they live. And it will make sense in the next couple of minutes. So these girls, Batola, Desmond, Senong at the place. When they find Desmond there, I Bahrunte, dinsang, and decided that they're going to chill by his table, all right? So they go to the bar, bareke di Corona 6, the Extreme 6, ne? Lautwa bareke. So they bought with their own money, or the money that they had on them, baloreka at the bar, 6-pack of Corona, 6-pack of Extreme, a Fotseba Groove, you know, it's in those ice buckets, right? Baye balodula ko tafeleng Desmond. Now, this guy, Obarenke Tebogo, he's apparently a bouncer, and I'm not saying the bouncer kiri losers, ne, but it is sort of giving loser energy of some sort. That's why kera ana nyugu ya 10K, and by virtue of get having, there's no way hormo to spend 10K more, you know. But anyway, not shaming the bouncer. Listen, doing important work for your industry. Not shaming you guys. I'm just putting into context ya hora dima nasile kutumela. But yes, and I don't know if Mamelodi, everybody just owns guns, let's trigger happy. I don't know if it's a rite of passage, hoba, a guy who works at work. I don't know. We don't know if he is a guy who works at work, because already, like, Nato Tumelamo when in jail, breaking down, crying. So you can take people's lives and take their testicles, Mara, you are crying. Anyway, so these girls here, so this guy shows up, and apparently had a small, you know, these passive aggressive interaction with Desmond. So Desmond was Lena. So I don't know if it's a thing like, you know, when you get to an area and you guys speak the same language. Well, I'm a township person, so it's just from observers perspective, ne? So you'd say, for example, maybe vendor people end up being in the same area, they will group themselves together kind of thing, Tonga people, abafihla, one man, then they group themselves together kind of thing. So I think, Leonako Extension 17 here, like I said, it's probably these new developments, not part of the old Mamelodi, like how I have beef Leboma, Pretoria Extension 30 Banbani being part of Soweto. Just be the West Rand, just be Randfontein, because wow. Anyway, sorry, ne, my Pretoria, sorry. But like I'm saying, you're the Extension 17 inner. So by my visualization and understanding, I'm thinking, Kiona, man, I need the word, but anyway, not important for this episode. So this guy apparently I believe passive-aggressive interaction with Desmond. And Desmond, I don't know if they're from the same place in Limpopo or Rejwang, but uba spedi lena no uba spedi se sako di roble style so ne. Yeah, kinal experience. Anyway, so he says this guy said to him, warasa. So he just laughed it off, wabo. To keep the peace, I guess, because let's get happy, motu khatile kavela or sele a big hoo-ha kind of thing. But anyway, then I guess this guy's ego is so small. He literally, I think, utwere kubu wabo utwere sekhupi. Hey, sis, what's up? Utwere sekhupi seo. Because now, couple past 2, so, yeah, because they got there around 10ish, and then around 2 a.m., now Kadi a.m.s, ne? That's why, I never liked it's either I'm staying until the sun rises, but apparently something happens at 2 a.m. Something crazy always happens on 2 a.m. But, hey, anyway, khatigeng. Groove is over. Then Desmond starts walking le Baleseng, Tshiamo since atama le tebogo, ne? And this is where now the narration came, ya hore Baleseng ajwetse Desmond hore, no, you know what, I don't like this guy doesn't treat my cousin well, this guy is violent, and all of that. And obviously at that age you're thinking, oh my gosh, older people, as much as, it's not a sugar daddy vibe, but like a older person. But anyway, now Desmond, abone this guy, this guy, right? This guy, he's still holding that grudge. This guy laughed at me when I was telling him or trying to threaten him, warasa, and then he didn't cower. So maybe he was trying to be a Ikutumela, maybe he was still in the making in the industry of being a Ikutumela. But anyway, now Yona from not too far from this place here, Hutlaladi gunshots, abo. Hi, Desmond, he remembers being shot in the front, and then when he starts running now in the back, ne? And it's so unfortunate. There are reports that say that they shot him in his private region, right? He's in the regions. He was shot there, and with that, thank goodness he survived. He's grateful that he survived, but I hope this doesn't damage him physically. But chances are. But yeah, so he was shot in the private part region and he lost a testicle. I really hope it did not end his future of him wanting kids if he wants kids. But neighbors were telling the reporters around, right? This is now the aftermath of it. They heard the gunshots. So I guess ibile yona interaction ill. This guy, he ran off, and he didn't know if Tebogo was still following him. So he was jumping from yard to yard, koyona, this place here. And Ori, at first, he bumped into some guys by Polo. But once those guys bought the gunshots, these guys now started driving off. So that is why he decided to go like jumping like yarding, flight or fright kind of situation, I know I was not giggling because he was shot in that region. I was just giggling at my word use. No, it's nothing funny about it, to be honest. But anyway, when the sun rose here, Kimo babonang these 2 young ladies lifeless, ne? So it was, as much as, media tries to desensitize us, but this was the response that was from the community, absolute heartbreak. And yeah, we are only speculating, because like I'm saying, Hore, it is a case that is still being trialed in court. But with the little clips that we saw this puss ass wigger. I'm just using that because let's say about a platform alone. But this nicker, the 38 ngoto it's having the takata. He's now crying, ba malela di charges ta gage. So he was charged with two counts of premeditated murder, 1 count of attempted murder, possession of unlicensed firearm, unlawful possession of ammunition, and he appeared in the in court ko Mamelodi, ne? Is it magistrate? I'm not too sure what the jurisdictions are. They put the jurisdictions that thing, but court ya ko Mamelodi. And yeah, according to the reports that we see right now, he abandoned bail. He did not want bail because what's bahore community ne ring. So we cannot also say motive ki eng particularly until the case is trialed. But yeah, the news spread very fast go Mamelodi, and but demand greater protection for women. I don't know what it is we need to do, guys. I really don't know what we need to do. Like, hey, angtibi for real. But yeah, some community leaders, they vow to shut down parts of the city unless the government and police strengthen safety measures. But they are part of the exact problem, Our commander-in-chief was reported to be somebody all-in abusive, But anyway, the South African Ministry for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities just formally condemned the unalivings, calling them part of the country's ongoing crisis of gender-based violence. This sounds like such a AI response, ne? Like by emotionless, but especially elebome. But like I'm saying, that women are the biggest perpetuators of colonialism and patriarchy. Always, especially my generation, my 1K. Ay, lingolile shame. Ringolile shame, From labantwana bagcoki to labantwana bathanda izinto. Yeah, let's go into that part. So bare bayana baba rata dilo, why and le the boyfriends alone, ne? That is why shame. It's so not that it's disheartening, but hey, ke sono nkare everybody akasa komo jolo, and it's just unfortunate for clearly sexuality as a choice, because I don't think a lot of women would deliberately want to be attracted to men right now. The way things are going, my gents, come on. We need you guys in the restoration of black love and black healing, Jay. But when you're perpetuating such acts, guys, hey. So there's the whole narrative. So we destroyed narrative at 10K, ne? I would do 10K. Small gonka is not a place more motaka spending 10K. These girls bought their own liquor. And people get unalived in their own homes. People get unalived by their own partners in homes. So, simply, like you see, you're not addressing the actual problem. You do everything but shame and blame the perpetrator and perpetuator of the situation. You do everything but that, How there's a comment I saw on one of these platforms. This guy was saying, Hore, no, if you dress a certain way, it lessens your chances of you being violated. So it so you dress conservatively, in your logical head, you dress conservatively, so now you lessen your chance. So meaning that there's some other woman who's now going to be a victim. Ne? Yeah, I could say how you guys process things in your heads. I don't know how also, but anyway, yeah, like I'm saying, we will follow this case, I guess, blow by blow. I'm hoping maybe the next update will happen in Jan, which is going to be in about 3 months' time. This is when the court will be resuming. And yeah, the past weekend, the 1st of November, the girls were laid to rest in their home village, Go Lukau, which is in Limpopo, in Groblersdal, in the Mpumalanga region of Limpopo. But yeah, it was well covered, this funeral. People from media houses, people from, the media houses that we know, Bo, EW, I don't know what they're called. Yeah, those newsroom places. It did cover Yona funeral. Yeah, the girls sent off, in a dignified manner. And I'm just sad for the families, So, because, like after the headlines, after the cameras and everything, there's two families that grieve. Well, it's one family, Harry Buari, But there's a family that's grieving. There's friends of these girls and classmates who are mourning, the dreams that were left unfinished. Tshiamo wanted to build a beauty brand. Baleseng wanted to educate the next generation. They were role models. They were loved deeply. They were friends. They were daughters. They were, I guess, robbed of being proper lovers, I guess, And I don't think any family should go through this, honestly. And no family should be blaming themselves for we shouldn't have allowed these kids to do this. This is part of growing up. We do these things, we do these things. And as the legal process continues, one thing is very, very clear. Mamelodi and South Africa, actually, collectively, we are demanding justice, justice for Tshiamo, justice for Baleseng, justice for women who lost their lives to gender-based violence, justice for queer people who lost their lives to gender-based violence, justice for the marginalized groups, justice for the disabled, justice. That is what we are demanding. And if you have any information related to helping with gender-based violence, or need support, please contact the helplines, or provide us with helplines, routes where we can go, because my question will always be like, Reta jwang, But we honor Tshiamo and Baleseng not as headlines, but as lives full of love, of talent, of hope, of beautiful people, potential of beautiful women. May their families and friends find strength. May their dreams be remembered. And may their stories not just be headlines that we flip through, but help us move in a way where we protect, we uplift, and fight for every marginalized person, women, children, queer people, disabled people, people who don't have a voice, including men who don't have a voice. But that is the story that is still ongoing of the loser, 38-year-old Otshabang Ditakatsage, and was dating a 22-year-old Tshiamo, and unalived them, Tshiamo le Baleseng, and almost unalived their friend because of ego, or maybe he could not understand why he has access to them. But Tshiamo was with her boyfriend, her alleged boyfriend, at the time of her unaliving. So maybe she was the one who tried to calm him down, but I guess for ego, and we'll say when we don't wanna hold people accountable. But that is the story, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up. And my 1K, Sian, please. No victim blaming here. But I'll see you guys on the next episode. I think we're going to do another recent one. But yes, thank you so much for tuning in. Please do like, please do share, please do subscribe, please do correct us with proper information. Guy wa Chris Kadalfos, we're still waiting for that part of the story. But yes, may there be light, and justice in this case. I know I was very angry, and I said, I hope Pepe blind in jail, because what? Anyway, we are out.
Speaking. And you confirm that you want to go from Nisi? You don't have to go from Nisi. Do confirm, say.
Thank you, Worship. The accused before court is charged with 5 counts. With permission of the court, we should like proceed to the counts to the accused.
May we do 1 count and a translation be of edited?
That's the court. First count, Worship, is premeditated murder. It being alleged, Worship, that on the 26th of October 2025, and at Mamelodi, in the district of Mamelodi, the accused did unlawfully and intentionally killed Tshiamo Baleseng, a 22-year-old female person, by means of shooting her with a firearm. The state averts that this is a premeditated murder in that the accused sourced and obtained an unlicensed firearm and ammunition with the main purpose of killing the victim.
Ya pele ba ke premeditated murder. Hona le bolaya motho, hona le polao ya motjana hanle dibeletseng, empa hona hanisisa. Premeditate. Ba ile ba e ba la ba re ke molato wa hona hanisisa. Polao ya ho bolaya motho ka mekemisetso ya hona hanisisa. Ka o sietsa ba re ile la tswela pele la ya ho batla thunya se lo ke se mo molao la fumana le tsona di bullet se lo ile la sebedisa ho tsona thunya se ka tsena. Ba re mofu le Tshiamo fitness magumulwa nana le motse ka ba 22 fela. Motho wa mosadi e le go bila la sala bophelo ba hae ka 22 ka papa ka 26 October 2020.
Premeditated murder. It being alleged that on the 26th of October 2025 in Mamelodi, in the district of Mamelodi, the accused did unlawfully and intentionally kill Baleseng Miranda Maramoa, a 21-year-old female, by shooting her. Also, here the state asserts that the murder was premeditated in that the accused sourced and obtained an unlicensed firearm and ammunition with the purpose of killing the victim.
Do you understand the charge, Mr. Misi?
Yes. Correct, sir.
The third count is attempted murder. It being alleged that on the 26th of October 2025, near Mamelodi, in the district of Mamelodi, the accused did unlawfully and intentionally attempt to kill Desmond Sineng, an adult male, by shooting him with a firearm. Count is possession of a firearm without a license. It being alleged that on the 26th of October 2025, and at Mamelodi, in the district of Mamelodi, the accused fled unlawfully and in his possession a firearm, to wit a 9mm pistol with a make unknown.
October 2026.
Understand the charge, Mr. Misi?
Yes.
The fifth count is possession of ammunition. It being alleged that on the 26th of October 2025, in Mamelodi, in the district of Mamelodi, the accused did unlawfully have in his possession ammunition to hit 4 times unknown caliber of live rounds, without being a holder of a license in respect of a firearm capable of discharging the ammunition, a permit to possess the ammunition, a dealer's license, a manufacturer's license, a gunsmith's license, import, export, or a transit permit or transporter's permit issued in terms of this act, or otherwise authorized to do so.
You can appoint an attorney that you pay with your own funds. You can use legal aid that is fully paid for by the state, or you can elect to speak for yourself. Do you understand?
May I approach?
Yes, ma'am.